Okay, so yeah,
Yep.
I am a part of Venture Partners. We have a team of about 15 people, and we're the technology transfer office on campus. I'll just really quick go through this. So what is technology transfer? It's the commercialization of university technology. So, there's $1.2 billion in federal funding that the university received last year. And so from all that federal funding, inventions are created, and it is our job to find ways to commercialize those inventions, to make products out of them, either through licensing them to existing companies, or we spin out startups. And startup companies have been our focus for the last few years. And so, yeah, that's what we do. And it's usually through patents and copyrights and that kind of intellectual property protection is how we go about that. This is just a slide from Autumn, the Association of University Technology Managers. It's kind of our, our business organization. And so, as you can see, there's tons of innovation that happens across North America. In 2018, 7,600 patents and almost 26,000 invention disclosures. So it's there's a lot going on in North America in this space. This is just kind of tooting our own horn, but I think we've done really well in the past 4 years. As of right now, we have 100 plus active startups. Those startups in the last 4 years have raised almost $2 billion in venture capital and federal grants, and almost $2 billion economic impact here in Colorado and elsewhere. I'm not sure exactly how that's calculated, but that's the number that we throw out there. And yeah, this is just a real basic flow chart for how things work. So you'll receive some sort of federal funding or however you do your research. And then from there, you invent something cool, something interesting, something you think the world would want, and you submit an invention disclosure about it. You can find out how to do that on our website. We analyze the invention disclosure for some sort of market potential, technology potential. If we think that we can make money off it, we think somebody wants it, so there's a startup involved, then we'll invest in patenting. We have about $2.5 million patent budget, and we try to use it all every year. And from there, we'll have we'll file the patent, and then we'll market it. We'll try to find a company that is interested, and then we'll license it to that company or to a startup company formed, honestly, mostly by postdocs like yourself. It's postdocs are kind of our ideal instruments to commercialize these things, because the main researchers are usually too busy, and just the typical grad student might not have the experience to run with a company. We license things rather than sell things. We're mandated by the government to do so, because the government doesn't want to see these technologies shelved. So, for example, Google says that they're going to pay us $10 million for every one of our quantum computing patents. We can't just go and sell those all to Google, because there'd be a fear that Google would just put those patents on the shelf and continue to work on whatever their own designs for quantum computers are. And the government wants to spur innovation. And so if somebody takes a license from us and they're not making a product out of it, then we take the license back and we find somebody else that will. Cool. Any questions on any of that so far? Just kind of blew through it. Nope.
Just out of curiosity, how expensive is it to file a patent?
Good question. I'm an attorney, so any good attorney answer is it depends. I think typically for a US patent, it'll be between $10,000 and $20,000 by the time the patent is issued. And most of that's in attorney's fees, but that's a typical US cost. If you were going to patent internationally, say in the US, Canada, Europe, China, and Japan, just some of the most common places to patent, you could, you're looking at 6 figures easily for a patent. So it just depends on how complicated the technology is and where you want to patent.
So who normally pays for those fees, I guess? Does CU sponsor this sort of thing? Because the patent eventually belongs to CU, is that correct?
Yes. So the university owns your brains, right? Anything that you think of and develop within your role as a university employee, then the university owns it. And so, yeah, our patenting funds they actually come from our licensing funds. So we are a money maker for the school. And so mostly a quarter of the proceeds we receive come back to our office to replenish our patent fund. Yep. Cool. Yeah, just fire away. Yeah, like I said, I'm more comfortable answering questions than I am giving presentations. So that's great. And then, yeah, there you go. There's breakdown of net proceeds. So what's in it for you is, it kind of sucks that university owns your brain, especially since you work, years and years on a lot of times, the same project. However, if we do find a licensee and we receive proceeds from it, a quarter of it goes directly back to you. So that's nice. And, we've had startups that have exited, have exits in the billions of dollars, as well as the hundreds of millions. And so sometimes it can be extremely lucrative. And so, yeah, 25% goes right back to you. 25% goes to the lab. 25% to the campus chancellor to be used on further research, whatever that may be. It's really up to Terry Fees' discretion. And then 25% to the university generally, which a lot of that just comes back to our office to pay me and to fund our next round of patents. This is just breakdown of where our inventions come from, mostly from engineering. It's just because this is CU Boulder, so it's not Anschutz or anything. So mechanical engineering and chemical and bioengineering are highest. And you'll see humanities, we don't really receive any inventions. So psychology, no, history, no. Yeah, we're trying to get the word out. We're trying to get more invention disclosures. And so all the areas with a small bar, we're trying to push. So when in doubt, I would say submit an invention and we'll get back to it. So this slide is just kind of an overview of what we do. We used to just manage IP. When I started as an intern here 4 years ago, all we did was manage IP, manage patents and copyrights, and market them. But in the last 4 years, we've had an influx of money to spend in our office, and so we've hired new people, and we've built out all these programs around mentorship and building networks, education materials, and funding opportunities for our startups and our researchers. So we've become a lot more, and in fact, managing IP has almost taken a backseat. All of our energy and drive is in these other areas. Yep. So managing IP, I kind of discussed it a little bit before. I will just say I think we have about 1,000 technologies or so that we currently manage with a similar amount of patents. Some of those are kind of dormant, but I would say about 500 or so active technologies that we're trying to find a home for. Licensing with these. Okay, so this is something that we're proud of. So if you have an idea and you don't know what you're going to do once your postdoc ends and you want to maybe form a company, then you need to take a license from the university. The university owns whatever you are working on. And so if you want to go and make a business out of it, you got to come to us and take a license. And that can be kind of strange if we're your best friend this whole process and providing education and providing mentors and everything. And then you have to turn around and you have to negotiate against us to, with financial terms and the like to get your technology back, really. And so we created a standardized set of terms. We don't do it for licenses to industry because every patent is different. One patent might be worth 20 grand, one patent might be worth 20 million. It varies so much. That's really hard to have standard terms. But for our startups, we think it's just best just to make it the process as easy and as simple as possible. And so they're investor validated. We talked to venture capitalists and said, hey, are these terms good? Would you invest in a company that had a license with these terms? They say yes. You have some choice in your terms. If you're a startup, if you're a software startup, then the terms are extremely favorable, kind of ridiculously so, actually. And you have a 1 year risk-free kind of like trial. So you can try it out for a year. You don't owe us anything. And if you can't get your product to work, or you can't get investments, or whatever the main hurdles, whatever the hurdle is for your business, then you don't owe us anything. These are the terms. There's a link to, and I can send out these slides, but there's a link to the licensing with ease page, and it'll give you all sorts of information. But yeah, real quick, just, you know, if you're a startup, then and it's just a copyright, you don't have a patent on your software startup, then it's just 2% equity, and that's basically it. 5% for patents, and there's equity and sales royalties for non-software startups. But I think they're all pretty modest compared to other universities.
What is this aligned, blended, and equity free?
So these are your three options for your terms. So you pick your favorite, really. If you don't want to give up any equity, then you choose the equity free, and you'll owe a 3% sales royalty. So any.
Okay. I see. So it's depending. Okay.
Yep. And it's just, yeah, pick your favorite one, whatever makes sense to you. The most common ones so far have been the blended, but we've have had some equity-free deals and some only equity deals. So it's it's whatever makes the most sense for you.
I have a quick question. If so, I think most postdocs typically want to move on to a professor position somewhere else. So if we did end up going to a different university, does this licensing term still apply?
That's a good question. It is just for CU startups. And so I believe if it is a CU technology, if you submit invention disclosure while you're at CU and we patent it here at CU, I believe you would still be eligible for these terms. That's a good question, though. That hasn't come up yet. So it might be an open question there. But my gut instinct says yes. And we would hope that there'd be some connection back to CU, right? There'd be some other, maybe there's other people working on it here at CU, or maybe it'll be a Colorado company or something like that.
Josh, what's the sub-license royalty? Like the sales royalty makes sense. What's this other one?
So say you have an invention that has a couple different areas it can go into. Like an extreme example is we had one company that created this type of fungi that could amazingly be used, one as a battery, as it actually could store charge. And then another, it could be used to create meatless meat. And so wildly different markets. And so they had a license over the how you actually create this fungi, kind of a method patent. And so they're working on the meatless meat, and so that's their area. But then if another company came in and they wanted to, work on this battery using this fungi, then they could sub-license their license to that company, giving them the rights to work in it in that particular market, so that particular field. And then whatever, so in this case, if there's a 20% sub-license royalty, if this other company pays the fungi company, $10 million for the rights, then CU would get $2 million.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are these licenses, are they only granted to one company at a time? Is that how it works?
Only going to one company at a time?
Yeah, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, so these would be, so we call those exclusive licenses, and that's what this would be. There's exclusive, And so, yeah, typically our licenses are exclusive because that's where the value is, right? If some other company could come and take a license, then you kind of lose your market advantage. So this would be an exclusive license. Any other questions around the terms?
No.
Yeah, we're just moving along and on this little wheel here. So next is Commercialization Academy. Nitesh went to some of our events, but basically we have there's just a bunch of educational events. So lunch and learns, we have random things like we had that 6-pack challenge. So you go to all 6 weeks of lunch and learns and you get some beer. We had like a wine tasting one. There's a founders workshop, which happens once a month. And then if you go to all of those, then you'll get, I think like $5,000 or something towards legal fees or something like that. And so just tons and tons of educational events. Now they're all through Zoom. I think they'll probably mostly be through Zoom moving forward, but they're really good. We bring in a bunch of great speakers to help you out. So if you're thinking about starting a business, it's, you know, it runs the gambit over the different topics that we have. We also have 1v1. So if you want to talk to our presenters or somebody in our network, you know, we can set up a call or a meeting with them. So we have educational materials. We also have customer discovery, which is we pretty much demand, if you're going to take a license, do some sort of customer discovery, which is you have an idea, you think this market wants to purchase your idea, you know, your widget or whatever it is that you're making. But it's just a hypothesis. You don't know. You assume that this is what people want, but you never really know until you go out there and try to sell it. And so we try to get ahead of that by saying, okay, go out and call people, interview your customers, see what their pain points are, see what they need. Is this really necessary for them? And so there's 3 different programs. There's iCore, which is NSF puts on iCore. It's kind of famous in this space and it's kind of daunting. It's about 100 interviews they make you do over 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks. And it's a lot of work. And so that's iCore. And we kind of, we have a couple different programs that are more manageable. Research to market is 30 customer interviews and starting blocks is 10. And so you'll come in, you'll sit through a lecture about how to actually talk to people on the phone and what you're trying to get out of them. And then you'll do your interviews and you'll come back for a debrief. And we highly, 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 highly recommend that for anybody who's actually going to take a license from us, because let's say 3/4 of our startups that go through these programs end up pivoting their idea. They realize their initial idea isn't going to work and they pivot slightly. Or in case of the fungi company, right, they pivoted from batteries to making food. So it could pivot greatly, but very important to us. So that's our Commercialization Academy. We also have a commercialization network. Basically, we just know a whole bunch of people, you know, tons of entrepreneurs in the area, different business leaders, different venture capitalists, all across the board. So if you're looking for a CEO, you know, we can help you out there. If you just, you know, any sort of contact, we can help you out. And so yeah, please use us as a resource for building your team or validating your idea, or, you know, at any stage. So network, money. This is the one most people are interested in because everybody needs money. Everybody needs money to continue the research. Everybody needs money to form a startup. You know, money, the dollar is king in this field. So we have 2 main programs for that. We have Destination Startup, which is taking a bunch of investors from the coasts, from Boston and San Francisco, along from other areas. And we bring them here to Colorado once a year. This year is through Zoom. Yeah, we'll bring dozens of investors in to listen to you pitch. So if you have an idea, you know, and you're starting a company, come pitch here, and hopefully you'll get funded. And it's grown a lot over the past few years. And now it's no longer just us. We bring in all these other universities. So Colorado State, pretty much all the universities in Colorado. And then last year we also had, or yeah, last year we had University of Nebraska as well and University of Wyoming. And then next year, I think we're looking to bring in Utah and New Mexico. And so we're just all along the mountain region. We're having all this university startups come to our program. So it's getting bigger and bigger. Yep. And then the next one is the Lab Venture Challenge. This is the one that I'm personally involved with. I run this with another one of my colleagues. So I'm particularly happy about this. Most of you have heard of New Venture Challenge, where they give out, I think it's about 100,000. The finals are tonight, I believe. So that's open to kind of the CU populace in general. This is specifically for researchers, and we have a lot more money. So last year we had 1.25 million to give out. We gave that out in 1.25, yeah. We gave that out in 10 awards of 125,000. And it's a very good odds to win. I think the odds are about 2 to 1 to win these awards. And so if you have a good idea and you take the competition seriously, then you have a very, very good chance of winning. And it's a fun event. We give out really big checks for 125,000. It's a pitch competition. So you'll initially send in your proposal. The proposal will get graded. If you make the cut, then you come to the finals and you pitch a 10-minute presentation. And we'll coach you through the whole thing, how to form your pitch, pitch practices. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really, really good way to get funding. And next year, the state is giving us even more money. So we're going to have even more money to give out. And we're kind of running out of startups to give it to. And so even if you are not certain that you want to form a startup, but your lab is looking for funding, and you can make a good argument that your money will help Colorado economically in some way, it'll form jobs here in Colorado somewhere down the line, then you have a very good chance of winning this grant. So I highly recommend, even if you're not entirely sure, to apply, because we need more applicants, and we're at this point, we're just kind of giving the money away. So can't tout this highly enough. Cool. Any questions around LVC?
So I'm kind of curious to know what stage, does your idea have to be in to be able to participate in one of these challenges?
Probably early stage is really what we're looking for. So the requirements, I think I have requirements, eligibility, yeah. So it would be, so here's the eligibility. So you would need an invention disclosure here on campus, and you can't have received a ton of funding. So if you have a startup, it can't have raised more than $500,000. If you have other state grants, it can't be more than 150,000. And again, we're opening it up to non-startups. So, I'm thinking about a startup in 2 years, right? Well, then you'd be eligible for this as well. So definitely early stage is where we're looking at. And yeah, there you go. It also has to fit within these categories, but the categories are pretty broad, and I think pretty much anything's gonna find its way in there.
Oh, just a quick question. If it's something where you just need part of a startup or some kind of research invention that's disclosed here to be part of CU, right? Because if it's something that's like a multi-university research project that, like, say we want to turn into a startup where there are multiple universities involved, but let's say that we say, we're going to you're going to put our base of operations here at CU or in Colorado and then do it, would that still qualify, or does this have to be like solely coming out of CU Boulder?
Good question. Does not need to solely be coming out of CU Boulder. So the funds go to a CU Boulder lab. But if you are working, collaboratively with other universities or other institutions, that's fine. It just needs to go to a CU lab.
Sorry, Josh, I lost you. I'm going to disconnect and come back in. I can't hear you at all.
Okay. Anybody else having that problem? Is it my internet? Okay,
No, I can hear you well.
I can hear you well too.
cool. Oh, hey there, Pascal. All right. So yeah, so it doesn't have to be just a university lab, but it goes directly to a university lab. That's the requirement.
So what if you don't have a lab?
So, I mean, do you receive funding from any source in any way?
So I work for the Biofrontiers Institute, but
Mhm.
I don't, yeah, I'm not in a lab per se.
It needs to, it's a good question. It hasn't come up before. I mean, it needs to go to some sort of university speed type. So
Okay.
however other, grants get funneled, it has to have some account to go into, really. And it has to be some CU Boulder controlled account. So I think we just use lab kind of generally, but as long as the money has a place to go, that CU owns, that should be okay. Cool. Yeah, if you think of questions later, sling them at me. No worries. Yeah, and then the last bit is just marketing, which I don't really have anything about. For our technologies, we passively market them and we actively market them. So, yeah, just trying to find a home. Here's a cool little slide I just kind of threw in here, just because I thought it was interesting, but something to look back upon if you want to have more of a holistic view of all the things that we do and how it fits in the commercialization timeline. And then the rest of these slides is just data. It's just data from our startups. So as it currently exists, as of I think this January, these are where our startups are at. Most are at pre-seed funding. Just kind of the way startups work. Most of them don't make it to year 2 or 3, and so most are at pre-seed. Here's startups by category. So the largest is therapeutics. I believe this also incorporates CU and shoots, and so that's why the therapeutics and biotech are so large. That's also kind of just a typical trend in universities anyways. So lots of medical stuff, therapeutics, biotech, medical device. Clean tech is the biggest engineering category. We're on the up, which is good. Fiscal year 20, we had 12 startups formed, and that's good for us. And so we try to hit 10 every year. That's been our goal the last couple of years. And so, yeah, we'll hopefully keep moving forward. Here's some of our startups. You probably heard a few of them. Definitely heard of Ball Aerospace. That was a while ago, but some of our more recent startups and what they've raised. And so Cold Quanta is a recent one. That's one of my startups. And yeah, they raised 32 million a couple months ago in their Series A, which I was really excited about, especially since they're a quantum computing startup and not a whole lot of quantum computing products out there. So we were really happy that they were able to raise that money. And then here's the Holy Grail. So this is what we're going for. It's why we spend all the money on patenting every year and form all these startups is for the exit fees. Right? So if you kind of scan down the list, I think some that'll pop out for you are Myogen back in '98, exited for 2.5 billion. SomaLogic in 2000 exited for 1.9 billion. And so, yeah, hoping for more of these big exits in the future. I think we've done well to create a lot of startups that kind of have mid-range exits, but that's the Holy Grail. That's what we're going for. And yeah, that's what I got. That's my material. So that's what we do. We're a service organization for the school and for you all. So, I field emails and calls all the time, a lot of time just to give advice. And yeah, we're a resource. So please use us if you have any questions or you have, anything at all, right? Feel free to reach out. Any final questions or anything?
So I'm curious to know whether federal funding, does that at all interfere with being able to commercialize your ideas?
No, in fact, most of our inventions have some sort of federal funding behind them. So it all started, this history lesson started in 1980, where prior to that, if there's any federal funding, you couldn't commercialize. The federal government owned the patent and couldn't really do anything. But then someone did an analysis where they realized less than 1% of patents that the federal government owned were commercialized. There's like 30,000 federally owned patents and they all sat there. And so there was an act that was passed by President Carter, by Dole Act, and that allowed universities to commercialize this stuff. And so if you do take a license, you'll notice a strange clause in there that says the US government has has march-in rights, which means they can come in and pretty much do whatever they want with your technology, which kind of freaks some people out. But I think it's been implemented maybe once or twice in the 40 years that's been there, and I think both times have been for undisclosed military purposes. So I think you're probably pretty safe that the government's not going to take your technology.
I would have another question. A lot of what you have talked about is around innovations and like actual physical or actual products, maybe not physical, but actual products. Is there any way to actually commercialize knowledge? So, in our group, for example, we are experts in what we're doing, and we are developing software that is used mostly in drug discovery, and there are companies that are interested in our knowledge, basically. So one possible commercialization would go probably in the direction of a consulting company or something like that. So I'm wondering if that is something that you could help with, or if that is something completely different.
No, yeah. So it's a bit of a gray area. So there is kind of pseudo intellectual property that can't be patented or isn't really a copyright, and we call that know-how. And then we'll define the know-how in some way. And so if we can actually define it, we can define what it is, the contents of your brain or your actual, ability, to provide service for a company. If we can quantify that in any way, if we can put that down on paper and say this is what it is, then we can license that know-how along with some sort of service agreements. But that's kind of difficult to do, and that's usually packaged with software, right? So if we were to license software, but then you need the contents of the inventor's brain in order to actually make work, then we'll license the software with know-how. However, I think what you're referring to is probably more of just like a services agreement. You can go to a company and help them work out, whatever problems they have, or help with their software, or something like that. And that would just be a consulting agreements or some sort of services agreements. And so then you'd bypass us, and you could work directly with the company. I think with researchers, you have the ability to spend some of your time on outside projects. I think you might need approval from whoever your higher up is, your department chair probably. But yeah, I think that would be more of just a consulting agreements, which you're more than willing to do. I think the office to work with on that would be OCG, Office of Contracts and Grants. And so if you have a company that's interested in using you as a consultant, I would go through them.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I just caught end last bit of that answer, but I'm just curious. That's kind of interesting because
Well,
that doesn't count like as opposed to an actual that you might make out of some kind of research invention that you disclose.
don't know if I caught all that. Is that Nitesh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I break up a little bit? My internet connection's a little unstable.
Yeah, no worries.
I can repeat the question.
Yeah, you seem to be a little bit better now. Oh, well.
Okay, I can repeat the question. So I was just kind of differentiating between if the know-how was developed while you research something at CU Boulder, or the know-how developed as part of your research ability at CU Boulder, that might allow you to kind of bypass CU if you were to set up some kind of consulting system, as you talked about, as opposed to some kind of research invention that you disclose as part of your research. Those seem to be two separate things. I just found that interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's, if we can't somehow put what the intellectual property is in a contract, then we can't license it. And so a lot of times this know-how is just kind of this amorphous, well, I know how to do this, right? And it's, if we can't actually put it down into words, then it's not a contract that's enforceable. And so then it just becomes just a consulting services agreement where you would, sell your time to this company. But yeah, I mean, anything like that, you'll need to run through OCG anyways. And then if there's a question, they'll come to us and then we'll kind of make that assessment. So if we can find a way to quantify it, we will. But it's usually, if it's not a patent or a copyright, then it's very difficult.
Oh, and I just have one last question. In terms, you guys are talking about how with some of the venture challenges and stuff like that, you guys would help with the pitches and preparing those. I guess I'm also curious about help with, say, if I was like trying to write like a NSF, SBIR, or STTR proposal, would I be able to come like, connect with someone, because I don't have as much experience, say, being able to write these, and I'm just like curious if there's someone else with like a little bit more. Oh, okay, I see an email there.
Yep. So Jacob's the guy. So Jacob was a professor here, and he formed a couple startups. Startups are actually in my portfolio, so I know him pretty well. But he was just a master at writing these SBIR, STTR agreements. He seemed to get funded every single time. And so we used that, and we said, hey, could you be a resource for other, postdocs and researchers to help write them? And so we formed this Center for Translational Research, which is really just Jacob with administrative assistants. And so I just forward all those inquiries onto him. And yeah, the researchers really like him, and he'll walk you through the process, and he'll edit your proposal and help you out.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's great. I don't know how he does everything that he does, because he wears, he has 2 startups, he has, a job as a professor, and he does this. So I don't really know how he does it all, but he always responds right away, and yeah, he's the guy.
Cool. Any other questions, I guess?
Yeah, for any other future questions, just I'll throw my email in the chat. It's also in the presentation that I'll send to Gian. But yeah, just feel free to reach out for anything. That's what I do. I license things and I field questions. And so please don't hesitate.
Cool. Well,
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time here.
Yeah, and good luck. Good luck with the rest of your research, you all. And yeah, hopefully I'll be in touch for commercializing one of your ideas.
Perfect.
See ya.
All right, thank you. All right, see y'all.